Erin, I've been thinking that this whole time.
That is amazing. For those of you in the future on YouTube who cannot see the chat, Erin just shared, not gonna lie, Alicia looking like a Bond villain a bit just now, stroking the dog. Yes, yes, yes.
I was trying to warm her up, but it just looks like I'm contemplating my evil plans. So.
Hello and welcome to another zany episode of Nerdy West Coast Swing, the podcast with pixels where the anchors are out of this world and the points don't matter. We are here to help train your eyes so you can learn faster and dance better. I'm Cassie Winter.
I'm Alicia Marshall. If you're wondering who are we to be analyzing these pros, Cassie and I both have extensive training and experience in both partnered and solo dancing. Cassie has about 22 years and I have about 24. And tonight we are taking a look at two different dances. The first one is Melissa and Benji, and the second one is Lisa and Sean, I believe. Right? Yeah. I like how I'm the one that went through it. I'm like, which one are we doing?
You pick the videos. It's just because you're like a DJ, but for videos. I mean, you're also a DJ, but like in this capacity, DJ for videos. Also, just a side note, both Alicia and I will be at Rose City Swing at the end of this month and at All Star Swing Jam in March. And we're both available for private lessons, either separately and or together. So just hit us up if you're interested in a lesson. We would love to see some of you in person for the first time. Tonight, specifically, we're focusing on counts 3 and 4 of sugar pushes or push breaks. Two different names, same pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the link for the first video, Benji and Melissa, in the chat. Go ahead and give it a watch, and then we'll get to analyzing. In part, why we're talking about this topic is because over the course of our break, someone commented on a video or sent us a message, I forget which, and was asking about angle of compression, essentially, for the 3 and 4 of a sugar push. And so that will be one of the elements we're talking about tonight. But at the end of the day, the 3 and 4, the first triple step of a push break, is the compression and redirection in a sugar push. And there are so many different ways you can handle that in the moment as a partnership. And so that's what we're talking about tonight. Is there anything you wanted to share preamble wise?
I don't think so. However, I will say for our people that are live here, apologies if I get distracted because I have a dog that's wanting to play with me. I'll try to keep focused, but no promises.
To the screen share.
So going through the stance and then the next one, I chose a few that are actually push breaks, like a normal one that you would see at least going in and out on the 3 and 4. And then I chose a couple that start in the same way, but they end differently, just so we can kind of talk about that a little bit as well.
This one's a really great example of how important like count 2 of a push break can be, because right after count 1, Benji starts kind of releasing the connection a little bit and just relaxing it downwards.
Yeah.
And also slightly to his left, Melissa's right, which encourages her to rotate. And then what I see is she is then delaying her reaction to that initiation. So she's stepping forward with her left and then pivoting to her right after that last step. So right here.
Yeah, she's like finishing the movement in a delayed way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to add that the way that he goes about this is extremely important, especially because of the way that Melissa is going into it. The way that she's going into it would feel very grounded. And that's a point that can provide a lot of extra energy if you use it in a certain way. So, you need to make sure that you do things properly so you don't encourage a lot of extra energy when you want them to stop.
Functionally, what's happening is Benji is loading up a lot of tension into the center counterpoint of the handhold through his anchor. And you can see how he's bringing the handhold with him ever so slightly. And Melissa is doing a beautiful job of resisting that.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as all of that tension gets released, right here, you can see how their rope shortens, like both of their elbows bend because they're getting closer to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point where Benji is no longer using the handhold to encourage her towards him.
Yeah.
He's launched her. He doesn't need to add anything to the situation anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so he just relaxes and lets go.
Yeah. I will be right back. Coco wants out.
Okay.
All right.
No worries. Well, we're waiting for Alicia to get back. Another thing to consider is the rail over which the handhold is kind of living. So it's ever so slightly to Benji's left, Melissa's right. So even though he is drawing her towards his center, it's ever so slightly off center. So that way, when he releases it, it becomes a point of rotation around which Melissa can turn. You can think of like if the handhold was more directly in front of her center, like her belly button, that would create a different rotation out of her than this nice gentle one where the handhold is on the right side of her body in this moment in time, making it a really gentle rotation.
I'm back momentarily.
All right.
She's gonna want back in.
I was just sharing how the handhold is slightly to one rail to make the rotation gentler. Instead of it being directly in the center, it's like more to his left, her right.
Yes.
Then I want to talk about how, yes, in general, the slot is kind of shifting this direction ever so slightly, but ultimately, like Benji is drawing her towards his center. And you can see that by the way he places his left foot after picking it up. So he ends up crossing it behind to make sure that his feet are in integrity with the direction his center is going in.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about in this push break in particular?
Not really. I think the only thing that's not really relevant to our topic, but I want to point out how Melissa is delaying her hip settling, coming around into that one. So you can see right here, Melissa's hip, the right hip, is really far towards Benji. And then as she settles, softens the knees and drops, all of that hip, it relaxes under her and shifts to her left side. So that's what's taking the weight that he's going to feel in the connection and really increasing it, because she's not only making it go backwards, but it's also going diagonally backwards. So it really increases that weight.
Mm-hmm. All right, so this next sugar push is essentially like a chill click clack kind of variation. Like has a little bit of that entrance to it. You can see it by the way Benji is styling his count 2, really rotated to his right.
Yep.
It would be really easy to accelerate rotating back to his left from that point, but instead he decides to style it a little bit differently. And he's also not forcing Melissa into that kind of rotation at the same timing as him. He's really gently offering his right hand and letting her collect with it whenever she chooses to. Whereas if he were trying to like power through and make a click clack happen, he would probably accelerate her using the current handhold, his left, her right. So that way her left hand was ending up in his right at this point in time, and see how there's a lot of distance there. And then that way he would have both of her hands to initiate rotation with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And because he has his lower body rotated so drastically towards the audience, that to me says that he has a little bit of dissociation between the lower body and the arms in the frame.
Mm-hmm.
Because generally, if you're connected, going into this angle is going to create an angle for the follow as well.
Yeah.
More so than
I would say he's kind of gently dissociating from it until like right here when her left foot lands.
Yeah.
Because this way, with his hips turned to his right, his left hip is now closer to her, and his left arm is really bent, even though we can't see it. She's in the way. So that way, he has a lot of power through his left side to offer compression, and it makes it easy to then slow her down. But I do love how open-ended he is with this lead to allow her to style it differently.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking earlier, like one of the things we want to talk a lot about in this episode is the direction of compression and the release of compression in the 3 and 4 of a push brake. So while this isn't a standard example of like a normal foundational push brake, I want to highlight the direction of the compression. So right here at this moment, Melissa has not been going straight forward. She's been going forward and to her left at an angle.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have a slot bird's eye view, she's been going this direction into the compression. And the compression hits equal and opposite first, but then it rotates to her right. So she's now facing her right. So if we go back to this picture, what's happened is the compression has rotated around. So now she's facing this direction. And what's interesting about this is basically the dominance of the handhold. So at first, it's this handhold that's doing the most of the compression when she's coming in originally. And then after this rotation, it's now this handhold that has the dominant compression. So if we follow through with the rest of this movement, you can see how this handhold now has the primary compression force to it. And this one's just kind of like a guardrail.
Mm-hmm.
And the driving force is coming from Benji's right hand, Melissa's left. That being said, I would say that his resolution of the compression is delayed and hers is actually resolving first because of the pitch she's ending up in.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can see her hips get away faster than her upper body.
Yeah, she's really pitched forward.
Yeah, and this is one of those that unless you are in the partnership, it's hard to tell, like it's a chicken or the egg kind of situation.
Yeah.
It could be that his hip weight resolved in a way that we just can't see on video, and that led her out, and he just didn't start reeling out the arms, which led her into that pitch. Or she decided to resolve her hip weight and lead herself into that pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, afterwards, he decides to hold her in that pitch because of keeping the hand hold down, a place where she can't reach it without bending over based on their relative distance from each other.
Yes. This one is an interesting one. This one is one that has an entrance that's kind of like what you would see for a push brake, but it also changes into something totally different here. And the way that they're getting into it is also kind of different as well, because of the like floating posts that we have going on.
Mm-hmm.
So traveling. And then you can see right about here, Melissa settles her hip weight again, which is what I was talking about earlier, where you can see the hip shift from one side to the other. This one isn't quite as drastic, partially because of the angle that we're looking at it from. But you can still see kind of when she moves more to her left. And then we have what looks like it could be a regular sugar push, but we turn it into whatever this ends up being.
So wait, there's more. Like if we think of fundamentally what a push break is it's a 6 count pattern where the follow starts and finishes the pattern in the same place relative to their partner on the slot, and doesn't pass the partner at all. That's what distinguishes a push break from a whip. When the follow passes the partner and ends up back where they started, that's a whip. And the entrance into a sugar push is just a moment that is very fruitful for things to do with it. So this entrance is very similar to the very first push break we looked at tonight, where Benji is keeping the handhold more towards the left, just slightly left of center, left of his center, right of her center, and then encouraging her to fold to her right against that point of rotation. And then the thing right here, this is a really interesting choice. He is really exaggerating the down of the handhold. So she's already rotating to her right. And what that is doing, and because Melissa has the skill to do this, it's forcing her to pitch herself forward and really shoot her feet out behind her, and delay her weight transfers over those feet. So you can see like right here, she's really lunging down into her right leg so her left leg can go way back, because that's the only way she can stay attached to the handhold and still maintain the integrity of her momentum and body flight that she had before. And it's in part like an anticipation. So this is really exaggerated. So that way the money shot, this beautiful moment where it's rainbowing over her head, has more impact and looks better in contrast to what we just saw. But if your follow is significantly taller than you, never do this to them. Because you'll exaggerate it for you, which means death for them. I have been there. Okay, thanks, bye.
Don't want to go back?
I don't want to. Like, I have very flexible hamstrings. I don't want to use them every 10 seconds. All right, I don't think we need to necessarily cover anything else in this. It was really just the entrance, right?
Yeah.
All right, one more in this video before we move on to the next one.
Yeah, this one's also really interesting. It turns into kind of like a sugar tuck, I guess.
The Charleston
kind of where we're going with it.
The Charleston push. There we go.
So this one's interesting. Melissa actually kind of disconnects her upper and lower body a little bit. You can see at the beginning of it, she kind of has her upper body going forward first. And then she kind of follows it with the lower body. But the main reason for that is because of the position she was in when he started leading it. Because she was in like a very posed position. And that typically like that type of moment doesn't have much connection, or the kind of connection you would need to smoothly go into the next thing.
Yeah, because like by nature, a pose, it's a held position, right?
Hard stop.
Yeah, it's a hard stop. So it's lacking momentum, because like the functional connection in West Coast swing is built on redirecting existing momentum. It's not generating momentum.
Right.
So when you're coming from a place where the momentum has stopped, you have to do extra work to compensate and get back into the flow of the West Coast swing connection. And so one of the ways that she does this is she does this really great little skip, like this and one. So, and ball of the right foot hooks under with the left, and she's swinging her hips underneath her towards Benji. So now she's in this position, but on the other foot. So that even though she's like kind of in the same arc relative to Benji, because she's on the other foot, she's now settled.
Yeah.
And then I want to highlight how nice of a job Benji does to wait for her to finish her movement in such a way that it is safe to release the push tuck.
Yeah.
So he has her hand in both of his hands. She does this really excellent styling. But if he were to just suddenly push on her right hand right now, she is in no, like, there's nothing to be released. So he would just be like judo chopping her suddenly. And she would have to brace her entire body to respond to that or completely disengage from it, whichever felt safer to her.
Yeah.
Instead, he is waiting and paying attention. You can see she does this wonderful kicks out her other foot, and she really sinks into that standing leg and makes sure there's more compression in their shared handhold than there was before. You can see when she comes down, her left arm is actually coming back to her left a little bit, which indicates that her right arm is going forward on her right just a little bit, at which point it is then safe to start releasing that energy and to safely resolve the sugar tuck without injuring her. Really important detail.
Yeah.
Was there anything else you wanted to talk about on this one?
Probably the entrance, because Benji has two hands on her one. The one hand is more of an accessory. The other, his like left hand, I believe, is doing the majority of the work.
Yeah, I agree. His right hand is the accessory.
An accessory placed there to make it look different. And I just wanted to point that out. Like in general, it's no different than like a normal entrance into like a sugar push, but it's just, it has that added element to it.
Right.
For visual purposes.
Yeah. Then I think I also, now that you mentioned that, there's something else that I see that's probably helpful to mention. It's really important to, even if you're leading a push tuck, because I think it's more understood in a normal push break to let a follow catch up to you so compression can be created for that 3 and 4. It's just as important to let a follow's right hand catch up to your left hand as a leader to create compression for the sugar tuck. So you'll see, if you really pay attention to Benji's left hand, it's moving down the slot 1, moving down the slot ever so slightly 2, and now it's going upward for 3. It's no longer really, the emphasis is no longer down the slot, it's up, so that way she can actually get close to it and compress into it. He's not continuing to be like, come to me.
Yeah.
Like you have to manage your footsteps and your hand position very consciously, so that a follow isn't reaching and having to like lean forward to compress with the handhold.
Yeah.
All right, so this second dance is also from Monterey, and it's Sean and Lisa. Link is in the chat. Go ahead and give it a watch, and when you're done, we'll get to analyzing. To the screen share. So just right off the bat, you can see how stinking common it is to slightly angle your slot, your slot to the leader's right, the follower's left, ever so slightly. So you're like just dodging over one lane. And either encouraging the follow to rotate to their right or to take it into a push tuck. Like, that is such a normal thing and such a common thing. So if you're looking for something like discreet to practice. As a leader, it's getting that into your body, and as a follow, getting used to being kind of unspooled more to your left, and resisting in your anchor with that rotation added to it instead of just going like back forward.
I will say, what is kind of unique about the exit of it is the way that Sean leaves his hand there.
Yeah, he's very much letting her resolve it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's barely doing anything. Like I can kind of see him pressing to, move her that way, but it's really not much. And she's really doing the majority of it.
Mm-hmm. It's a really simple way because, like, there's the dance monkey dance side pass, right? Which I have never met a follow who likes that.
Yeah.
This is a much more subtle option, where if you are able to have the handhold high enough so that way the follow will feel comfortable for you to just leave it there. This is a really simple option to be like, here, the reins are yours.
Yeah.
But it's really, really subtle and it feels less dance monkey dance.
Yeah. It to a follow feels like you're giving them space to do what they want. It's not like you do something.
Yeah. Here, I'm out of ideas. Entertain me.
Right.
So once again, we have this drifting push break that like goes to the leader's right, shifting over slots. And this time it's another push tuck. However, Sean switches hands.
Yeah.
And I want to highlight how Sean is bringing his right hand across his body to her hand. He is not accelerating her to his right hand. So like we were just talking about with Benji, how
I was just going to say that.
I love how my brain is actually functioning right now. I'm quite impressed because I've been working so hard on my coaching business that my brain literally feels wrung out like a dry sponge. So it's nice talking about something other than life coaching and productivity and chronic illness right now. This is nice. I still had some juice somewhere in my brain. You can see how Lisa is settling lovely into her standing foot for her anchor. Sean is encouraging her to step forward for one. And he's bringing the hand up vertically earlier, one count earlier than Benji did. And I believe that's in part because of how much longer Sean and Lisa's limbs are, respectively. So he brings it up right after count one and is just allowing it to come towards him ever so slightly. But their connected handhold right now is still on his left, her right rail. Okay. And he has brought his right hand across his body to her hand. So that way he's switching hands, but she doesn't experience it any differently from a normal push tuck, which makes it really, really comfortable to follow, especially because the compression still stays on the right side of the follow's body instead of across their own body, which is an entirely different can of worms.
Yes. And you can tell that it doesn't like disrupt what she's doing because the rate of her hand moving forward towards him is pretty like consistent. Erin, I've been thinking that this whole time.
That is amazing. For those of you in the future on YouTube who cannot see the chat, Erin just shared, not gonna lie, Alicia looking like a Bond villain a bit just now, stroking dog. Yes, yes. Yes.
I was trying to warm her up, but it just looks like I'm contemplating my evil plans. So
needs a merch shirt, official mascot. Yes. Evil. What does that make me? Oh no, am I a henchman? Oh no. I'm the one who does the dirty work. I will not leave Bond alone to escape. I am a better henchman than that. That is all.
That's funny.
All right, I want to highlight the resolution of the compression energy here. So they're at max compression. He has now already switched handholds, so it's in his right, her right, and he's come up into this really fun position.
Yeah.
It is so hard to see, but you can see the handhold is coming down and towards him a little bit more.
Yeah.
But while his hips are moving down ever so slightly. So he's extending his left leg again. His hips are coming down ever so slightly. And the compression is kind of like with an exhale energy coming downwards just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you can see how that kind of combination of things, his hips are leading her hips. So you can see how her hips start to rotate to the right before the handhold actually starts moving. And the handhold is more of a follow through in this particular push break.
Yep.
So this is what we mean by resolution of energy. So if we were to actually like graph it out, the connections in West Coast swing with your partner and then with yourself and your groundedness into the floor, it looks like a wave on a graph.
Yeah.
It like crests and it falls. It's not like a heart rate monitor that's going beep, 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 beep. That's where you get whiplash and injuries. It's not actually functional.
Yeah.
You want a natural like crest where it'll slow down, build up energy, and then it'll release that energy, and it'll over time increase the rate at which it's releasing that energy. It doesn't release it all at once. And depending on the point of compression, the angle of compression, and then how your body is relating to the connection dictates where the energy gets resolved and how and in what direction. And then that then affects how it's translating to the partner. I know that is not necessarily something you can go out and use everything I just said. It's more like something for you to be able to start seeing it.
Yeah. Start thinking about it.
Yeah. And then maybe feel it in your body and be like, oh, what happens if I try to, if you're a leader, I want to release the energy of this push tuck from my hips instead of my left hand. What would I have to do differently to set that up? Because it's not about it's not about suddenly pelvic thrusting at your partner once you've hit no, you actually have to dance into it differently in order to resolve.
That's one way to describe it.
I clearly the part of my brain that provides examples is out of juice. Please, next private lesson, how to yes, come to Rose City Swing, have a private lesson with me, and I will teach pelvic resolution of push tucks. Oh, geez. That's an outtake right there.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next one, shall we? So this is like our first example tonight of a sugar push that just like goes in and out. There's less angle to it. So it's just from a bird's eye view in one direction and out the exact opposite direction.
Yep.
And it's a really helpful like comparison to what we've been seeing already, right? And you can already see how less dynamic it is once you take out the rotation or the angle of the slot.
Yeah. That being said, this is still an important pattern to incorporate into your dances. It doesn't always have to be something more dynamic.
Right.
It just, it would be better for there to be variations on it.
Right. I think I just highlight it because so many people are like, why don't my sugar pushes look cool? And it's like, most pros rarely lead the ones that they teach you how to do when you're in beginner and intermediate. Yeah. And then I mean, it's been a long time since I've been in an intermediate lesson. I don't know. Did they teach the change? Or is that just something you're supposed to like absorb through osmosis? Who knows?
Not sure.
Yeah.
Not sure.
So I will say Sean is doing something unique for this version, because to start out, he's already on like a slot over from where she is. So he's kind of doing a similar, like off to his right sugar push, like he's been doing earlier. But because he is in a different position relative to her at the beginning of the pattern, he ends up more or less right in front of her for the compression instead of slightly off to his right or her left. Sorry. So she has not been led to rotate at all. And that's why it's looking so straight in.
Andrew said osmosis. Thank you.
Osmosis. Osmosis. Westimosis? No.
You tried.
I tried. So you can see this compression right here. So she's doing a forward break onto her right foot. You can see how much he's really decelerating her momentum, not only over her left foot, but then so she doesn't fully get over her right foot when it ends up out in front. And then this is something interesting. So because of the angle at which Sean is at for that maximum moment of compression, this is another one of those where the compression is resolving in his own body in order to lead her out of it. So unlike the quote unquote normal push break, where a leader is taught to drive forward on 4 with their center towards the follow to drive them back. Instead, the spring has been loaded and it's just relaxing out. And she's already moving back before he can step forward. So you can see, watch his like left foot. He's collecting it towards himself while Lisa is already moving backwards with her right foot. And he actually collects because he realized if he were to step forward right there, he would step on her.
Yeah.
So it's not as straightforward as kind of like the push break that you're taught when you're first learning West Coast swing, but it has some elements of that.
I also want to talk about that slight arc that happens
in the handhold.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes down, it swoops up a little and then back out. So it's a bit of a figure 8 motion.
Can you like track his hand for that?
All right. This is the part where I need to remember that like I can actually put my hand on the screen now while I draw. You.
6.5 hours later.
That's fun. Looks like the worm from Dune. Everybody get your sunscreen. You can see it like this corner right here. It's going down. And then it comes up ever so slightly before it goes through there. So it's doing this little bit of swoop figure 8 with the down first. So like there's resolution in compression and weight, and then there's resolution in direction. And in direction, it tends to resolve in an arc in 3-dimensional space. So if we were to look at this from a bird's eye view, there would probably also be a bit of a figure 8 from the bird's eye view, not just from our audience perspective. I'd say that's a sufficiently nerdy note to end on.
Yeah.
What say you?
Agreed.
It's the animator in her. She can't. Yeah, that's accurate. All right. Are there any questions, comments, concerns? Bad jokes. Nobody's been collecting bad jokes these past 2 months. I will be disappointed. In 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about dancing to fast music. Quite excited about that one. We're spicing up our Patreon. Do you want to talk about that, Alicia?
Yeah. So we are incorporating a little bit more of what we do here on Thursdays into our Patreon. So what we've been doing is more like lessons and whatnot, but what we're going to start doing is we're doing 2 analysis. We're doing a high level and then a low level analysis. And then for the high level, it's going to be not so much the focus of like this, which is like talking about what's happening and whatnot. What's going to be talked about more in the Patreon is a little bit more critical, a little bit more like what went wrong here. That's kind of what we're incorporating into it. And then for our lower level, we're going to be picking random dances. Also, if you have a dance of yours you would like to submit for that, we can do that. But we'll be trying to hide identities so we're not putting anyone on blast.
Yeah. I had the idea of having our little logos as the heads, so it'd just be like dancing nerds because we have a red one and a purple one. Anyways, yeah.
But a lot of our people are lower level dancers, so we want to make sure that we're bringing in things that you can relate to, more so than just seeing what's happening at like the champion levels and getting some ideas about, oh, well, like this is looking this way. Okay, now I know why. Let's adjust that, that type of thing.
And then one of them for Patreon will also be a kind of like workshop style. So if you're a patron, you can come at no additional charge, but we're going to make it so for those of you who may be like, is this Patreon worth throwing my money at? You could pay to just participate in one workshop a month, just piecemeal, to see if you enjoy our other teaching style, where we get a little bit more constructive criticism. That's what we're going for. So yeah. Erin's excited. Excellent. Well, thank you all so much for joining us tonight and for tolerating we haven't done this in a while. Miss
and dog.
That was great. I consider that a feature, whereas my Zoom problem's a bug. All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us tonight, and we will be back in 2 weeks for dancing to fast music, and we will be at Rose City and All-Star Swing Jam if you want private lessons in the flesh.
Weird way to put that, but yeah.
Yeah, I regret it. I regretted that instantly the moment I said it. I'm gonna stop the recording now. Oh man, I have to do the thing. I have to get Juice to do the thing. This must be how Bailey Sarian feels when she's about to do her theme song. Just infinitely awkward. Anyways, to the screen share. Okay. High energy.
I'm sure we've all missed that.
We are good. Excellent. Oh yeah, and now is the magic where I can like see everybody. Show video panel. Yes, I want to see everybody.
What is happening?
Oh no, so you can see this? Is it like blocking the video?
A line.
It's a line?
Yeah.
That is dumb. What happens if I do this?
Hello? Don't know. What'd you do?
Like, did the line go away or anything?
No.
Nope.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
Oh, there it is.
All right. Is it the same problem?
No, it's fine.
No? Okay. Excellent. Hope y'all don't mind the hot pink, but it seemed to be the most high contrast color for the Star Trek blue background we got going on here from Monterey.
At least it's not the infinite amounts of black that it normally is.
Right?
That's all I wanted to say. And I need to go check on Coco because she's romping out in the snow. It's freezing.
Okay, cool. I'll wait for you before we move on.
I'm back temporarily.
Is Coco still outside?
She is. She's discovered snow today, and there's no turning back from that. So
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Nerdy West Coast swing now with commercial interruptions. Just you wait until we have product placements. Oh, she lives.
yes, she's very cold.
Oh goodness.
She's like
So
shivering.
cute.
Coco, I'm sorry. You were the one that wanted to stay out that long.
Also, I love how like Chris is like stroking a beard through his mask. So good.
It's very effective. Gets the point across, I guess.
Oh no, my cat is curled up so hard she's snoring. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Honey butt. I kicked your dad out so he wouldn't snore. You can't snore now. I really appreciate his Tin Man free arm. It's a vibe. I am here for it. Oh my God, Kayla's snoring is so much.
I put Coco down and she wanted immediately back up.
There's something quite meditative about this task. Yeah, listen to me. Yeah. Sound effects optional but necessary because I'm starting to feel awkward at this point.
Good.
We'll get
Everyone
there.
was looking at Coco while you were doing that.
We'll get there. Excellent. We're looking at Alicia being a Bond villain. Yeah, I'm totally the henchman. I'm doing the labor right now, and you're just looking pretty and smart, and you have your evil pet, and
funny.
It tracks. It's canon.
I didn't think that would end up so well connecting.
All right, we're getting there, people. We're getting there. I'm just waiting to like turn on ghosting so y'all can see the magic.
Sorry to everyone that's here live. You have to sit through all of it.
I'm not sorry. I'm having to sit through this as I do it.
Yes, but you're also actively doing something, so
that's true. I think I just feel more awkward about how I can't shut up while I'm doing this. All right, just a couple more. The compulsion to keep going is strong. Okay. We are gonna turn on ghosting. Let's see. Let's do 9 and 9. Oh, is this not actually helpful? That would be horrendous. You can see it's like a blur.
Yeah.
She's the mastermind, and we are both henchmen.
Yes.
That is the new canon.
That seems accurate.
Okay, cool. All